All right, folks, this is the 1 year anniversary show. It's been a while in the making. Obviously, life gets in the way for both of us, so we all had our, ups and downs on trying to put this together. But finally, we both found some time where we could get this show on the road. And like I said, this is the 1 year anniversary show, and there was absolutely nobody else that I wanted for this show, and I wanted to build it up. Like I didn't want to bring this guy on and like in the 20th episode. I wanted to bring him on an important milestone episode. So this guy has been one of my best friends for over 13 years. 2007 is crazy when we met. He hired me, and I still work for the same company today that he hired me from. And I owe him a lot as far as like mentorship and all that stuff. So I was blessed enough to be in his wedding and all that stuff. So I want to welcome to the 1 year anniversary show, Mr. Eli Perez. How you doing, friend?
What's up? What's up, man? Thanks again for having me on. And, I know it's a long time coming, but excited to be part of this and finally to be a part of this great show, man. I've been seeing it for the last year, and, I've seen your transformation and, from a young kid going to school to, the man you are now, man. I mean, your accomplishments and your kids, man, and your career. You are one of a kind, man. So more than excited to be here with you and to be part of this great run you have of podcast, man. There's nothing better out there, in my opinion, honestly.
I appreciate that. Well, this is the start of year two, so hopefully there's no better way to start off this episode and nobody else I would want to start it off with. We got a lot to dive into today. Obviously, the NFL just kicked off, and we'll get to all that stuff, our overreactions on week one. Everybody does it, including myself. We'll have our thoughts and all that stuff. But just real quickly, just for the audience, I just wanted to catch up. You and me, we haven't talked like this in a very long time. You used to live here in San Antonio with, a chunk of our friends that also live here. Just want to know how are you? How's the family? How are the kiddos? How's life up there in the Dallas Fort Worth area? How's it going?
Yeah, man, it's awesome. It's been believe it or not, it's almost a year come November that I'll be out here, and you know me, I like to hide away and live in different cities
For sure.
every other year. The law's trying to get me right now, I think. No, man. I mean, I've jumped around all over Texas, and we always knew we were gonna end up in DFW area sooner or later, and got a good opportunity to come up here, and I love San Antonio. San Antonio is always going to be my hometown and always in my heart. But we're North Texas people, and we love it. The kids are great. The kids are closer to their cousins, and my wife's side of the family, and I'm a little bit of a diehard Cowboys fan, so it
There you go.
doesn't hurt that I'm about 5 minutes away from the star. So
That's awesome, man.
uh, little things like that. But no, everything's been great, and miss San Antonio, but we definitely love the Dallas area for sure.
Awesome. Like it's not surprising to me that you ended up back in that area. Like I always knew like you always had such a fondness for all that stuff. And then of course, I mean, not only being like a Cowboys fan, but you're also a Rangers fan. And I know you're following the Stars are in the
The
are they in
Stars,
the are
yeah.
they in the Stanley Cup final yet, or is it still like ongoing?
Well, today they're in the Western Conference Finals right now.
Okay.
So today's game five. So they're up 3-1. One more win, obviously they go to the Cup. And unfortunately, the Stars, I think they're about the fourth most popular team in Dallas. I mean,
Hmm.
the
It's
Cowboys are the king
it's hard.
of everything. Yeah, I mean they're dominate this whole city. But you also have the Mavericks. I'm a huge Spurs fan, obviously from San Antonio, and Mavericks are my arch nemesis. But it's hard not to cheer for like a Luka Doncic.
Oh yeah,
He's
yeah.
he's great for the city, and the city just bleeds Maverick blue here. And then as bad as they are every year, people love the Rangers. I mean, I love the Rangers too. Baseball, I think baseball is very popular out here. So unfortunately, I think the Stars always kind of end up in a fourth place. But right now, everybody's on the bandwagon, and Cowboys. Cowboys the Cowboys. So at least we got something going on, and if they win today, and they won the Stanley Cup in '99. So it's been about what 20 years now since
Yeah,
they won the
just about.
Stanley Cup, and at this town, I think anytime there's a chance of a title, I mean, I think they'll take it. We'll take it, right?
Awesome. Well, I'm
except
glad
for
you're
the
having
Mavericks.
a I'm glad you're having a good time up there. Family's good and
Yeah,
everything.
man.
Happy
Yeah, yeah.
belated to your firstborn. I won't name
Thank
names
you.
on here just for safety, but happy belated birthday. My girls still always ask about her and the kiddos to see how they're doing. Maybe hopefully someday soon down the line when things I guess calm down a bit more, maybe we'll take a trip up there and we can all hang out and
For sure, man. There's so much up here to do and see, man. Any time. I mean, it's we're all family. We're not just friends, we're family.
for
So
sure.
for sure, man.
Is there a Legoland up there or something like in that area
So
close? Or?
there's a Crayola land,
Oh,
like a
okay.
Crayola thing up here. There's like a city within a city that
Mhm.
I haven't taken my kids yet, but they keep seeing about it. Where you go in and there's like a 7-Eleven, there's a Kroger. Unfortunately, Dallas is not blessed to have HEB like you guys down there.
Mhm.
There's like a little mini Walmart where kids can go in. I think San Antonio has something similar, but this is more an amusement, more
Okay,
versus
cool.
educational. So yeah, there's a lot to do, man. We stay in our little bubble. As you know, we live in Frisco, and I'm blessed to have my job about 10 minutes away from here. So, it takes me 10, 15 minutes to get to work, and we kind of stay in our little bubble here in Frisco, and everything we need is up here in this area. So we haven't ventured much out the DFW area for obvious reasons and the time we're in now. But yeah, man, there's definitely a lot out here to do.
Awesome, man. Well, that's good to hear. So I'll definitely put that in the books as something to maybe
Sure,
go check out. I know I had wanted to go do the Survivor series, but that's
man.
completely out the window now. And uh, going real quickly to the Cowboys, and I know we'll talk about that a little bit later, but they're playing in the SoFi Stadium, and all I kept thinking last night was, man, I really hope WrestleMania gets to be held there next year.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that stadium, wow. And a $5 billion stadium. I
Right?
mean, unbelievable, right? And I didn't think anybody could top Jerry's World. I think that tops it, man. That's what a beautiful stadium. And, I'm not a huge fan of that canopy they had on top.
Yeah, that's probably one
Yeah,
of its maybe only flaws, but I'm sure if we get the opportunity and spoilers, we're actually trying to plan to go to WrestleMania
that's right.
next year there, so it'll be a sight to walk around and all that stuff.
For sure. For
Hopefully, I
sure.
mean, fingers crossed that it gets to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, all right, well, now that we got the pleasantries out of the way, let's get into all these topics that we wanted to get into. We've been
Yeah, man.
talking about this for weeks now. We are both in the movie theater industry. Of course, like as I mentioned, you hired me back in 2007, and you've helped me grow a lot throughout the years. And right now, our industry is in a little bit of it's in a little bit of a trouble right now. Like it has been over the last couple of years with the way things have been going, but the pandemic kind of sped everything up. Not sure
Right.
exactly where you want to start because there's so many different avenues we can go down. But right now, what are your overall thoughts on everything that's happened so far with theaters?
Well, yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, like you said, we're all kind of born in the industry. We've been in there for, I think, almost every blockbuster this century, right? And it's painful. I think the movie theater industry has survived so much. From depressions to recessions to so much out there, so much uncertainty, and the movie theater has never been hit with such a pandemic that we're facing now. And it's tough. It's definitely tough. And you could see it in the releases. You could see where studios are apprehensive of releasing their movies. As somebody who, I'm going on my 16th year in the industry, and that's all I've done in my adult life, right?
Right.
um, you know, it's tough to see, right? And I know there's a lot of naysayers out there, and a lot of people that were ex movie theater employees that kind of want to see the industry implode. No
Right.
names to be said on here, but it's funny to see a lot of bitterness on some of those people. But I think I don't personally, you could call it bias or homerism, whatever, but I just don't see the industry going anywhere, man. It's just you can't replicate it. You can't replicate it. Yeah, you have 82-inch TVs, you have beautiful projectors, you have 4K, 8K. I'm sure there'll be 12K in the next
Hmm.
2 years, right?
For
And
sure.
at some point, yeah, you have a great TV, I have a great TV, and yeah, it's great to see it at home, but the experience of going to a movie theater with that surround sound, just that environment, before COVID, because I know there's a lot of apprehensive with COVID and going out in closed spaces, and I get that. But before COVID, I mean, can you just imagine going into the industry, or I'm sorry, into a movie theater and enjoying the smell of the popcorn as soon as you open the doors, going to your theater and, seeing Avengers,
Mhm.
for the first time, seeing the Dark Knight trilogy, those are movies that I'll never forget as long as I'm alive, just seeing them for the first time and the magic behind it. Any Disney movie, I mean, just any movie in general. So, you know, I don't, I think the industry is going to suffer. I think you'll see a little bit of a difference when it comes to releases in the future, but I don't think it's going to go away as easily as some people are saying, just because, you just can't replicate it at home. Not the sound, not the picture. And again, it comes down to money, just like everything in the world, right? These studios are spending 200, $400 million production budget into releasing these films. And, how do you get that back? As simple as you can't, you
Mhm.
can't, you have to release it to movie theaters. You have to get that, 60, 70% cut, as they like to say, from that movie ticket. And, you kind of survive that way. Movies will not survive on VOD. They won't.
Um, Pre the pandemic, the only thing that was worrisome to me, because I know the Avengers and the Star Wars and even the Nolan movies, those are going to be fine. I'm scared for movies like The Way Back, movies that you and I love, like The Social
Yeah. Yeah.
Network.
Yeah.
Like, our studio's going to take chances on making them with a, like, because Social Network was a Sony movie. Um,
Yeah.
are they going to take the chance now making something like that with a whatever 50, 60 million budget and then releasing it into the theaters, or is it simpler for them to just put it on Hulu or whatever? That's my only fear with the business and where it was headed before the
Right.
pandemic. So now after this, I'm worried for movies like that. Again, I'm not worried about Marvel or Star Wars or anything like that. That's going to
Right.
be fine.
Right.
And I was
Yeah.
thinking more. No, go ahead.
No, no, no. I think those are great points. I mean, yeah, you saw something like Tax Collector, where, it's not, obviously it's not your Marvel or Disney, but it's such a great VOD, and I'm sure they collected more money VOD than they did when it got released to movie theaters, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, I think that's the one valid point that I think people are making, and that you bring up, that yeah, those B, C, D movies that aren't your tent poles, your big blockbusters. Yeah, I mean, these studios are spending $8 to $10 million to make, maybe even less. And is it worth going out and saying, okay, well, I'm gonna ask for 60, 65% of that movie ticket, and it's just not worth it with so much uncertainty.
Mhm.
We saw how much Tenet fell this weekend,
Right.
from opening, and that's given in the United States we've opened more theaters. So I think it's definitely a sign of people are not comfortable at this time. Now, a year from now, I don't know. I think there's so much uncertainty, and people are afraid. And I've seen people bring up the point of Tenet isn't a movie for everybody, and I think that's a very, very valid point. If we had seen an Avengers type, a Batman, a Spider-Man, Harry Potter type of film where it just
Mhm.
it draws everybody, I think we'd be seeing different numbers too. Because again, Tenet doesn't really draw every demographic.
Can I ask you a hypothetical? Because I think one of the things Hollywood is losing touch with is how to make movie stars again. They're so reliant on the brand and the IP.
Yeah.
With Tenet, I know the sell is Nolan, but I couldn't help when I was watching that movie thinking, like, man, like Tom Cruise would have fit the main role. Like, do you think that would have had an effect or like a little bump in the
Oh
box
yeah.
office numbers?
Yeah. I just don't think. I mean, outside of what Steven Spielberg, uh, you
Tarantino.
know, Tarantino. I mean, yeah, Nolan. But again, Nolan is an acquired taste.
Right.
It's not like a Spielberg. It's like, oh my God, Spielberg directed this. How
Mhm.
amazing! Or Quarantino. I was gonna say Quarantino, right? Because we're all quarantined. But yeah, he has that. He has the Dark Knight trilogy behind him. But other than that, yeah, he's got a lot. But I'm talking about, uh, normal people outside of, other than Batman and these movies he's produced or directed. I'm sorry, I just don't think he's uh, that name that like a Spielberg would get. So yeah, I definitely think, I know it had Robert Pattinson and a few people, but yeah, like you said, if it would have had someone like a Tom Cruise or somebody huge, look at those Mission Impossible movies. I mean, hell, there's like
Yeah.
50. What are we going, like number 9 or 10? I don't even know. I lost
Yeah.
count. But they do so well because Cruise, and Cruise is a star and he makes those movies. So I think that's part of it too. Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely agree that there needs to be some star power there.
Yeah, like people are saying like, well, how, I mean, Inception did so well. Why didn't this one did? But like, you look at Inception, like that Leonardo DiCaprio, like that
Yeah,
was
I
a
mean,
huge
Leo,
part of it.
of course. I mean, Oscar winner. I mean, yeah. I mean, you can't compare that to what we saw in Tenet. So, and of course, we also didn't have COVID. That's
Right.
part two behind it. So, it just didn't get its fair share. And, and I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen most of it. As you know, in the industry we work, we kind of see most of the movie,
Right.
3 weeks later or whatever. And, I think it's amazing. I think I had sent you or I put a comment or something when we screened it for our staff. And, that first opening sequence is really reminded me of The Dark Knight
Yeah.
and, that Joker bank scene,
Right.
he does it big with that big bass and that big rumble and, those nice zoomed in shots. And I mean, it really grabs your emotions from second one. Right. And that's
Right.
what Nolan does so well. And I mean, I love it. I mean, he's probably my favorite director right now and, what he does, but unfortunately, these type of films he makes, it's an acquired taste. It's not like I keep going back to your Batmans and your Marvels and your Spider-Mans. It's definitely not for everybody.
So let's go back to the numbers for Tenet. So it opened to 20 million or around there, if that's the correct number. I had predicted around there 20, 25 million. And I thought that would have been like really good considering you didn't have the New York and California markets. And I think
Right.
they're starting to open up slowly in California at least. But like what were your expectations like, given with not those markets around and what would have been a satisfying number in your eyes?
I mean, I would have liked to send 30, 35,
Mhm.
but like you said, you just don't have, I mean, New York and LA are the 1 and 2 markets respectively in the United States. I mean, nobody touches them. Yeah, you have, Dallas market is up there too, Houston, you have Miami, most of Florida. I think most of Florida is open at this point. So, you had Texas, Florida really carrying a lot of that. If you look back at grosses, and I don't have exact numbers on there, but I know Texas, and definitely, I know how well the San Antonio theaters do. I know they carry a lot of that weight too. So, here in DFW, our chain, we were the first ones to open up here. Dallas was a little slower than San Antonio to reopen, and now it's I want to say about 95% of movie theaters here in North Texas are open. They were open in time for Tenet, so that definitely helped out. And but just kind of going back to that original question, I mean, anywhere 30 would have been great. But again, considering, this movie kept playing the boy who cried wolf, right? I mean, we'll be out this week. No, next month,
Yeah.
the 15th, no, the 30th. And, I think there's a point where people just lost interest. I think
Mhm.
that's the biggest problem, unless you're a movie buff or you're in the industry like us. I mean, it was tough to keep up. When is it coming out? And all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, it's out. I
Right.
didn't know it was out. Well, yeah, we'll wait, or maybe we'll see it this week. So I think you get a lot of that at this point where, and not anybody's fault, it's just the times we're in at this time. And, you know, uh, the uncertainty. And I get the studios why they're doing that, but I think a lot of it is just people didn't know and they got tired of this cat mouse game of, yeah, we're doing it. No, we're not. Yes,
Yeah.
we are. And maybe not. So, I think that's part of the problem, but given the circumstances, I know you worked over that weekend at a location. So did I, and we saw some great success. And I think what we also forget too is, you know, that 20 mil. I mean, you had most. There's a 3 hour movie, rounding up a
Right.
little bit, 3 hour movie. So I know like our cinemas, we're running pretty much just 3 to 4 shows max a day. Given the circumstances we're in, I think most movie theaters in the Texas region and probably most of the United States, we're not operating 100% yet as far as show times. So, a movie like this, you typically would have, 5 or 6 prints or copies, as we and like to say. I think you would have seen a little bit more. And then considering again, you're at 50% capacity. What can you expect? What do you expect at that point? So, I think 20 is modest. 30 would have been great, but 20 is a modest number for this movie. And uh, I was disappointed that it dropped so much. I didn't think it was going to fall as bad, but you know, again, you had the number one problem this weekend was it was competing against the NFL.
That's another big issue. There's a lot of sports going on right now. NBA, I think this is the most. There's been multiple sports
Yeah,
going on at the same time, so
right.
that factors in.
Well, you
But
had
now that
college football. Yeah, you had college football Saturday, and
true,
obviously what you had. I'm sorry, you had the NFL start Thursday. You had Friday night football, high school football, which, as we
mm,
know here in Texas, is the king, right?
right,
Friday night football. I know not all high schools are playing, but most high schools are playing right now. Obviously, Saturday, you had the Longhorns playing, which are huge here in Texas. Not to mention, other big name schools on Saturday. Then obviously you had the professionals play on Sunday. So I think that didn't help. As we see the Super Bowl, that Super Bowl weekend is one of the worst weekends in the movie theater
mm,
industry. I think people were just waiting for the NFL at this point. There's just been so much crap over the last 6+ months that you know people are clamoring at the NFL, and it didn't matter what people were going to do; they were going to watch the NFL. That was the big thing this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes this weekend for Tenet this upcoming weekend.
let's jump to somebody who took a different approach, and that was Disney with their release of Mulan and
Right?
putting it onto their streaming service at a much higher rate than you would have paid for at a movie theater.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that whole process that they did with that? And I don't know about actual numbers or I know you posted something to me yesterday, but how
Yeah.
accurate is that?
Well, they haven't released their VOD, and I don't think they will because it's probably full of disappointment. Um, you know, did they reach a few million VOD? I'm sure they did. It's $30 Disney. Disney gets their bread no matter what. Uh, but I think what was really surprising, and I don't know too many details at this point, but the China market, where you would think it's such a big draw, that's it. It was a flop. So I know there's this whole movement of boycott Mulan going on in China and stuff, and you know, uh, Disney's Disney. They're like I keep saying, they're always going to get theirs. They're going to get their bread, and they're
Right.
successful, and so they're probably going to own this podcast in the next 2 3 years, right?
Probably.
They're going to make you an offer.
I want to be a
I mean,
Disney princess.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, the Ice Palace, I'll call you.
Yeah, there you go.
Uh, yeah, so I get it. I also think if we were looking at a bigger movie, I know Lion King didn't live up to expectations, but if you saw something like a Lion King, I think my point is Mulan in the U.S. I don't think is seen as such a big draw as you would see, obviously, a Cinderella, Snow White, all these different Disney princesses. Like my daughter turned 5, and she knows Mulan because hell, it's all over the TVs, right?
Right, right.
But before really the marketing of the movie, she really didn't know Mulan. I mean, she kind of knew, but she didn't really, didn't know her as part of the whole Disney princess group.
Right.
So I think I just don't think the market was so big, even if it went to movie theaters with Mulan. I don't think her footprint here in the U.S. is as big, and I think that made the decision to release it on VOD much easier for Disney. Again, if we had seen a remake of a Cinderella, and I know there's been like 20 remakes, but another remake, or if we had seen like a Jungle Book or something, I think they would have waited. They would have waited till Christmas, or waited till next year. But
Hmm.
I just don't think Mulan. There's a lot of people that disagree with that, but I just don't think even before COVID. I mean, don't get me wrong, it would have made some money, but I wouldn't have put it in that same realm of
Lion King.
Lion King or you know um, all these Beauty and the Beast. We saw how big Beauty and the Beast was, but I mean, who
Right.
doesn't know Beauty and the Beast, right? So I just don't think it would have been in that same realm, and I don't think Disney wanted to see a flop. I think this is easier to kind of blame COVID and blame whatever's going on in China, and you know, and go from there. And then the other problem is too is it comes out in what 2 months and or three
Yeah.
months in
I think they made a
December. So
mistake announcing that.
yeah, so like my daughter wanted to see it, and and she kind of we forgot about it, to be honest. I mean, we up until seeing it on social media, like I said, she's not huge into it. She's seen the animated version, that I saw, that we saw as kids, right?
Mhm.
And she was like, it's okay,
Yeah.
But of course, she's seen Lion King, and she's seen all these, that we saw in our kid or when we were kids. Like, she loves those. So yeah, I don't know what the difference is, but or why she's not a big draw, but it is what it is with it.
I want to ask you another hypothetical on that. We're a year removed from Endgame. Like,
Yeah.
could you imagine had the Endgame come out this year? What do you
Wow.
think people would be like begging Disney to release it online, or do you think Disney would have been like, whatever, we're just gonna delay it until we can get it back into a theater, or do you think they would have released it to something like that for a Disney Plus premium?
I mean, that is a what $300 million question, right? Or 325, whatever it made, I forgot. Yeah, that what a question, man. I don't know, because you have so many people that are fanatical about it. I mean, I love Marvel, and I love Avengers. Am I fanatical? No. But you have some diehards, and I
Mhm.
respect that. I'm a diehard, lover of the Cowboys, as we'll talk about later. But I think you have some diehards that would push Disney.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, again, it's that movie went down in cinematic history, and I just don't think Disney would have done VOD. I really don't. I mean, unless this wish would come true of some people of movie theaters closing or dying or whatever, you
Yeah.
know, I think you would see that. But I just, at this point, I just wouldn't see that from Disney. Again, Mulan's a different scope because, of, the non-marketing ability it has in the US. But again, something like an Avengers. I mean, especially Endgame, which I think even people that don't follow Marvel or Avengers or don't even know who Iron Man is or was. Spoiler, right? If you haven't seen
Mhm.
the movie, I'm sorry. Uh, if you haven't seen it, that's your fault. Uh, you know, everybody saw it. It didn't matter if you saw the first couple of them or you knew the series or even know how to spell Avengers, as our friend Roger likes to say. You know, uh, you saw it. So no, I just don't think Disney would have waited. I think it would have been delayed another year for
Yeah.
sure.
No, I agree with you on that one. Um,
Now, at this point, if we were in 2021 again and we're going, God, this has been a year and a half, then that's a different story. But I think it would have been pushed to summer 2021 easily.
for sure. Well, this last past week we saw Warner Brothers shift Wonder Woman out of its October 2nd release to Christmas around there.
Yeah.
Um, do you think, I mean, I know everything changes day to day, week to week, but gut instinct, do you think it gets moved once again just to next year? And
Yeah.
do you think we're going to get any of the releases that are penciled in for the calendar, like Bond and Black Widow? What's the other one? I think Pixar has a movie coming out.
Soul.
Do
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
do you
Soul.
see any of that getting pushed or moved to
Yeah.
Disney?
And I don't have any, and anybody watching is like, wow, he's an insider because of where I do have no insight. I promise you that. As just a person who's been doing it for 16 years, right? I was doing it for 15 plus years. Um, I said this during the summer or, right during the COVID and the height of COVID in June, July. And, I was talking to a couple other buddies that are in the industry with us. And, we all kind of had the same thought at the time. It's like, I mean, are we really going to see anything get released? We were all waiting for Unhinged. I mean, how sad are we right now that
Right.
Unhinged was our savior? And hell, it's still kicking butt. It's kicking butt in the box office, doing well. Hell, even New Mutants. I mean, it was number 2 this weekend. So,
Right.
um, you know, I think big temples. You already see Wonder Woman. That was kind of the first domino move. Candyman also moved, which of course, is not your Wonder Woman type, but it is Jordan Peele, and Jordan Peele has a certain draw and certain you know um, history with great releases. Obviously, Get Out being his biggest release, and
Hmm.
he's got Us, and great director.
He's
So I
starting to
think
build a name for himself.
he really is, and and just talking to people, and uh, they were waiting for that, and it was literally coming out 2 weeks before Halloween. So I
Mm.
mean, what better movie to get Halloween started?
Yeah.
And that's when the weather starts getting cooler, and it gets darker faster. By 5:30, it's a little dark. So I mean, all those would have factored great with Candyman, and that got moved to 2021, or indefinitely, whatever they said now. So you know, I know for me, for planning, I'm a huge planner for us and the industry we're in. I mean, I was really hedging all my bets and putting all my chips on those two movies for
Hmm.
October. And I had told my team, hey, be ready for these. And then now October is looking like a dud again, and it looks like we're going to be showing ET for 2 weeks or something. And that sucks, right?
Yeah.
So now we look at November, and you got Bond, which was moved already from April
Right.
to Thanksgiving, the weekend before Thanksgiving, along with Soul. So those are the two big movies, and again, those are huge, big movies, being Disney Pixar, and obviously Bond. I mean, Bond's a 007 is a draw in itself.
Right.
I
Right.
just don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I think unfortunately the elections, what is it? Election day is the third. I think you're going to see something sway. I'm not going to get into conspiracies or anything like that,
The
but
vaccine will show up the
the
day after the
vaccine will
election.
show up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You never know, right? The day before. I mean,
Come
they were
on,
saying
Jake.
November 1st. Yeah, where are you, Jake? Hashtag Jake. Uh, but it was really interesting to see after November 3rd, and see where it goes, and where we are as a country, right? And I think by then it might be too late. I think if I were, 007 or Soul or Disney, all those, you would have to move it by October.
Hmm.
Uh, so I don't know. I don't know, because again, you got December. December wasn't looking great
Right.
as it is. You had Dune, which I mean,
Dune was the savior, though, no? According to.
Dune was Dune. I mean, it's got every Hollywood star, but I don't even know what they know what it's about. What the movie's about, right? So I don't know. I mean, it would have done some stuff, but I could see that staying, just because it kind of reminds me of Unhinged, where, you know, it's already kind of made. We're not expecting 007 numbers on this. Why
Yeah.
not? So it might be a Dune Christmas for all of us. I don't know. Uh, but Soul and 007 would really hurt if they move out, just because it you haven't had a big uh, kids movie this year,
Right.
or since after COVID, or really this year, period, 2020. Yeah, you have Connected. That's the other big one in September. I think that'll do a little bit. It's a Sony animated film.
Okay.
Uh, that comes out, I think, late October, or later this month. I'm sorry, September. We're already September. Gosh, later this month. So I think that'll do some business. But I think, again, Pixar, Soul, it reminds me of Inside Out. It's I
Yeah.
think the same
It's.
premise, honestly. It's the same movie, but again, it'll draw some numbers. So I think those are the two biggest ones there. If those moves, and we'll know more by, I would say, by next month. If those move, then I'd be really afraid for us to end the year.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
I just, again, December. We'll see how December shapes up.
yeah. Any other lingering thoughts on the state of where we're at with the movie theaters before we move on to our next topic?
No, man, we just got to keep the faith, right?
Right.
And I think, like I said, I grew up going to movie theaters. My mom would take me every Friday night after school. We'd go to see every new movie every Friday night, and I think that's why I fell in love with the industry. And I've been in it so long, and you just can't replicate it, And
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, what are you gonna do, right? The mall. I mean, okay, you're gonna go to the mall. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just not a lot, and movie theaters are just part of life, and I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah. I guess the last note I want to put, I went to go see Bill and Ted Face the Music with a crowd, and you can't replicate that. Like, it's not just seeing the movie on the big screen, it's seeing it with people and how people
Yeah, yeah, the
react to
reaction.
stuff. There's
Yeah,
nothing like it, especially for like comedies. Like, I mean, yeah, you can watch comedies at home, but there's nothing like seeing it in the full auditorium with people and y'all laughing at the same crap.
Of course, of course. You know, and I think my last point on it before we move on, and and just I'm a movie theater nerd. I would say, if not all, most of these big companies are doing such an amazing job with COVID outlines, and I know you guys out in San Antonio and Santikos, being really the leader back in when what was it, June? You guys reopened somewhere around there,
Well, they
or
were our
May,
main
May,
locations have been open since May.
May. I'm sorry. You guys really paved the way for a lot of these locations that are open now, and I know seeing comments from that area, up here in DFW, the company I'm with, we're in different states. We're up in upstate New York, we're in Florida, California, Ohio, Maryland.
Oh wow.
We're not fully open yet, but the locations, we're about three-quarters open now as a company, and it's the reactions from people coming in, have been positive in regards to the cleanliness, the sanitation, and how great the employees have been all around. So I think anybody that is apprehensive, because I do have two kids, two small kids, and I can respect the apprehension going. I could say that it has become very safe to go out and watch a movie, and that's just me being an insider because I see it. I live it 50, 60 hours a week,
Mhm.
just like you do. And I know we're all being very, very cautious in what we do, and our employees too. I think it's not one of those. It's not cool to wear gloves. It's not cool to wash hands. I mean, it's we're in a pandemic, and I think most people, all people that are working understand it, and I think we're in a very safe environment.
Sure. I totally agree with that. All right, well let's move on. Let's get into a more fun topic where we can kind of debate a little bit, and you and I are good at this. And of course, we both respect each other's opinion. And I think that's something that's kind of lost on a
Yeah,
lot of people these days is like, if you don't agree with me, you're evil. And it's like,
yeah.
no, like it's okay to have a difference of opinion, but you know,
Blocked, bland.
yeah. So let's talk about the NFL, friend. Kicked off Thursday night with the Chiefs and Texans. Obviously, this is a season unlike no other, and that's including all other major sports. But I think from the get-go, we kind of knew like NFL was going to get its machine rolling no matter what. Like it's too big. There was I know there was people that were, I don't know if they hope's the right word, but like that there wasn't going to be a season or anything like that. But now that it's here, and to me, it didn't look any different, look or sound any different than I watching games like a couple years ago or whatever. Like it felt the same.
Right,
But what are your
right.
thoughts on the presentation and how stuff was
Wow.
and all that
I
stuff?
mean, I was amazed. I mean, at first, because you don't know who's allowing fans or who's not. And, up until yesterday, I didn't know only of all teams, the Jacksonville Jaguars had fans, right, at their stadium. Everybody else didn't allow any fans. But I remember, I don't know what game I was watching Sunday. Actually, I think it was the Chiefs Texans game, and I could hear the ambient noise. You could always, you and I have been watching football since we could, you know, walk and talk, right?
Yeah.
And you always hear that ambient noise, right, of NFL stadiums. And my brother who just moved up here to the DFW area too, we're in our living room, and we're watching. I was like, is there really no fans? And they pan out, and I was like, wow, there's no fans. So the ambient noise was phenomenal. WWE, pay attention to that.
Right? Like the way they do their sound is total. They
Wow,
really need to be watching the NFL because it
it was
sounded
amazing.
exactly the same.
I didn't, unless they panned to the crowd, I could not. I just I forgot the audience or the crowd wasn't there. The stadium wasn't full.
Yeah.
So I think they did a great job. I mean, honestly, it felt, watching football for those 2 days, it did not feel like COVID was going on, and it's nice, because everything you see right now is world's ending, people dying, and we respect all that, obviously, with what's
Mhm.
going on. But it was nice to have a little break from other things on TV where it's like, wow, it's the NFL was didn't skip a beat, And I think I think I saw about 3-4 full games the last two full days, and I was just amazed with the product too. With no preseason, no TAs, no summer camps. You had a very short camp in their respective bubble cities, right? Uh, I think every team, yeah, somebody had to lose, right, from one against each other. But I think as a product, the NFL, Roger Goodell, as evil as he is sitting back up in his New York office right now, just loving it and seeing all those profits line up because, I think the NBA did a great job. I think baseball is doing okay. NHL is doing okay too.
Mhm.
But again, the NFL is the Disney of sports. You just
Right.
can't beat it. You can't replicate it. And wow, amazing! Very good job by NFL, or I'm sorry, by Fox, by CBS, NBC, and I'm sure ESPN is. I rank them as the fourth best from the
For sure. No, that
presentation.
no argument here on that.
Yeah, I think they'll do great too. So good job to all these stadiums and I think what people forget is how great the sound technician crew at each stadium was and for each network. I mean, you literally had somebody mixing boos and cheers and ahs and oohs instantly. I mean, how great was that? It was
Yeah.
great. I think I don't know, a game I was watching and they didn't get the first down and you just hear boo, right away. It's like,
Right.
did they allow fans all of a sudden?
Yeah,
Great
that's
job. Great
yeah, I
job.
think it was during the Buck Saints game where they think I don't know what
Yes,
happened. There
yes,
was
yes.
booze and I was like, holy shit, I
Yeah.
forgot there's nobody
And it
there.
was subtle. And it was
Yeah.
subtle boos. It wasn't like a boo, where
Yeah.
it's like, you suck. It was like a just kind of crescendoed into a like, wow, this is actually like there's fans here. So good job to everybody for sure.
Yeah, no, I always say the NFL's king, and not just in terms of rating, but I think just in the way they've handled everything, like going back all the way to the draft. I think they knocked it out of the park with that. I think that's kind of a new way they should adapt it. It was more fun and engaging that way.
For sure.
If you were
Yeah.
watching Hard Knocks, the way they were doing the testing protocols, like it was no joke. Like the way
Amazing.
they adapted everything, like they took it super
Yeah.
serious. And I know people were like, "Oh, like there's no way this is gonna work," and only the NBA does it right because they're in a bubble. It's like no, like NFL's like a I don't know however million billion dollar industry. Like they have the tools to make all that stuff work. So I wasn't shocked
Right. Right.
in this going off without a hitch. Now, will there be cases here and there? Possibly, but
Of
that's
course.
everything.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I don't think it's going to be this end of the world thing like everybody had been expecting. So yeah, good job to everybody. So what are let's say I guess quick top of your head three things that stood out to you yesterday in terms. Now we're talking storyline. Let's talk actual like things that were going on in the games yesterday. Stuff that stood out to
Right.
you.
Well, I think the first thing, was obviously the presentation. We already kind of talked about that. Uh, but honestly, the hard hitting plays, they kept mentioning that last night, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, some of these guys look like they've been playing preseason and they've been playing for a long time. I mean, that just speaks to the conditioning and the professionalism of all these players. I mean, some of the hits I was seeing, it's like, geez,
Yeah.
did you guys get practice and during quarantine? What happened? So I was amazed by the play of each team when it came down to that. Um, I think my first one is the great play of Washington. Man, that was kind of my
Right.
surprise team this weekend so far. Barring anything crazy like Giants winning today, right? Or Jags winning today. But I think Washington, really their defense. God, man, I mean, they're gonna be they're a ways away. I don't know if Dwayne Haskins is their franchise quarterback at this point.
Mhm.
I don't think he's terrible, but I'm not sold on him just yet. So, but it was nice to see. I think Chase Young, what an amazing young guy. I mean, geez, being a Cowboys fan, that I'm gonna have to see this guy twice a year.
Mhm.
Not happy about that. So really, really amazed by him on how well he did. Um, I think the second one definitely for me was my boy Mahomes. I mean, I love my Cowboys, but geez, man, you can't deny the greatness of Patrick Mahomes and how special this kid is. And I think he's going to end up being the quarterback of this decade, man. And it's his world. Him and Lamar, and I just the domination of this kid. I mean, there's few teams I think in my history that I can say don't sleep on even if they're down 24 points. Don't sleep
Right.
on even though they're down 30 points. I mean, I would say 99% of teams are down 24 points going into the third quarter. It's lights out, right?
Yeah, yeah, for
This
sure.
Mahomes, man, this kid, geez, just surprises me every time, and I shouldn't be surprised. So, Mahomes stepping up. I mean, right now he's the best. He's the best in the NFL. There's nobody close to him at this point. He's running away with the MVP again, probably Super Bowl MVP again, and he's gonna get even more cash somehow thrown his way. He's gonna sign a 20-year deal, and own the team probably.
I totally agree
So
with that. I know how good this guy is, and people gave me shit because I drafted him in fantasy, right? You're like, you hate this guy. I was like, yeah, but you idiots, like, but I know how good he is too. Like,
yeah,
regardless of however I feel about him from a personal standpoint, like,
right, right.
you idiot, Jake. Like, I know this guy can provide points. He's like, you hate him. How could you do this? Like, no, you just don't know
Well, you don't
football.
draft with your heart,
Right. There we go.
Jake. Like Jake, you don't draft all Cowboys players.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Um,
Jason Witten does not play for the Cowboys anymore, Jake.
I think he drafted him as his tight end. It's like, what are you doing?
Probably.
Um,
What one catch, 2 yards? Yeah, point two fantasy points. That's awesome.
I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be that first player to actually, because to me, I always have a problem with all these players that get these big contracts and then they just never live up to it. I think Mahomes
Right.
is going to be the exception to that, where he's going to just keep getting better and better. And like I said, this is only like what, year 3, and he's already one of those quarterbacks where like you said, if you're down 24, like that's not enough. Like you better like beat him by like 40 or 50 or something like that.
You got to bury this team. Yeah,
Yeah.
you really do. Yeah, yeah. And I think the last one, you know, just your boy Brady.
Let's go.
You
I'm
don't
ready
have to
for it.
bring him up.
Let's go.
You're like end podcast, right?
Cut his
No,
mic. Cut his mic.
yeah, could have like get him out of here. Uh, how old is Brady now? 67, 68,
Somewhere
somewhere around
around
there.
there.
Jesus, this guy don't stop. I mean, I'm not a huge Brady fan, but I respect his game and I respect what he's done. And he still looks like he's freaking 25 out there. And he's not the same Brady, and it's not fair to say we're going to see the same Brady that won, all the Super Bowls for your New England Patriots football club.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not fair because age is a real thing.
Hmm.
Even though he's Superman and he's still playing at a high level, it's impossible to say he's going to be at the same level he was 6, 7, 8 years ago
Right,
when he was in
right.
his prime. So I think still seeing him out there, flinging that ball, running in for that set. He's not a runner. He's not Lamar Jackson, but it's great to see that even at he's really he's 42, right?
I think he
Or
just turned 43, so
43.
he's
So
he's up there.
even at 43, he's still going and sacrificing his body to try to get a win. And and I respect him for going down there. I do think him and Belichick had tension,
Oh,
that we'll
for
never
sure.
hear about.
I'm buying that
And
book where there's a lot of stuff in there like that's legit.
yeah,
Like there was real tension there.
I think there's a lot of tension, and uh, I just don't think it's kind of like Belichick is just like Coach Pop. They're the goats in their respective sports.
Hmm.
Uh, but when you are a goat, when you are a leader like that, you are going to make a few enemies. You're not going to be liked by everybody. And case in point, look at what happened with Coach Greg Popovich of the Spurs and Kawhi Leonard.
Right.
Two very different personalities. Not to digress into basketball, but you saw how fortunate the Spurs were to get these people that transcended the franchise in Duncan, Parker, Ginobili,
Right.
and they themselves molded themselves to Pop. Versus, well, I'm my own person, and you're gonna have to follow what I do. Because look at LeBron. I mean, I could coach the Lakers next year,
Right.
and I'm not really coaching the Lakers. LeBron's coaching those Lakers, right?
For sure.
LeBron coached the Heat. LeBron coached the Cavaliers. So, you know, I think Pop is one of those few, if only, coach that says it's my way or get out of here. And you've seen those stories of him yelling at Tim Duncan, which again, one of the top 5, 8 players of all time. Do this as right or get out.
Right.
Can you imagine Tyronn Lue in Cleveland telling that to LeBron, get shit right?
Yeah.
It just wouldn't happen. So, going back to Bill Belichick, I mean, I think he was the same thing. And, somebody like Tom, and I don't know him personally or how he is, I think that wears on you. It definitely does. And, it's, I don't care who you are, you're going to do things my way. And I don't think he really liked that. So I think it was refreshing to see Tom in a different team. I think he was having fun. I think
I
that's
think
one thing.
that's a majority, I think, of why he wanted to get out of there was he wanted to enjoy these last couple of years. And I think he was starting to lose that fun aspect because it is a grind up there in New England. With
For
just like
sure.
military school type atmosphere they have up there. And yeah, he just wanted to really let loose, kind of fling it around more, not just be in this like whole like dink and dunk, or however you want to call it, with the way he was doing things up there. But yeah, no, I totally
Right.
agree. It was more for the funness.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Those are my biggest takeaways. And of course, kind of a bonus that SoFi Stadium, we talked about it earlier before we jumped on the podcast. Just amazed by that SoFi Stadium. I mean, it cost $5 billion to build, and most stadiums are about 1 to 2 and 2.5 billion.
Correct.
This one doubled that, and just amazed by it. And I hope we get to see it one day. But just a beautiful stadium, and it's unfortunate what's going on out there with all those wildfires and all that, and no fans. I'm sure that place is going to look great once it has fans, but really amazed by that stadium. They did a great job.
My three takeaways yesterday was one, I guess, piggybacking off of you with like the play. Usually you get like sloppy games in September, even
Right.
with the preseason games, but the fact that
Even
there
with
wasn't
preseason.
any, I felt like the
Right.
games were more sharper for some reason. Like they were, I don't know, teams were just right off the bat like in the groove. I know the Bucks struggled yesterday, but that more had to do with new players coming in and whatnot. I mean, the Saints was basically the same roster. They only added like Emmanuel Sanders, so they were pretty much set. The Bucks, I'm not worried about. I know I was getting shit yesterday for it, but I think they're going to figure it out. But for the most part, like everybody was just in the groove. Even like Joe Burrow, like the number one draft pick,
Yeah.
no preseason, nothing, and he was holding his own out there. And I know they lost, but he didn't look like a rookie out there. He looked like
No.
somebody that was carrying his own weight on the team. So that was one of my big strong takeaways.
Right.
Some of the stuff that I had predicted on my preview show, like for some reason I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to have like one of those like chip on his shoulder type of years, considering who they
Wow.
drafted, and he played lights out yesterday. Um, I know it was the
Amazing.
Vikings and Kirk Cousins, but the Vikings defense is still somewhat formidable. They're a threat there in that division, so that was a standout to me.
For
The
sure.
NFC West is, I think, still going to be the best division. The 49ers lost yesterday, but everybody else won, including the Cardinals, who were surprising in that upset against the Niners. Now, will that continue throughout the rest of the season? Who knows? But that was fun to see. I was expecting the Niners to not have a Super Bowl hangover, but maybe, I don't know, maybe there might be a little one, just considering how things went yesterday.
Yeah.
Sorry to my friend Paco, who's like a huge Niners fan, but you got to call it like you see it. I like to go by the eye test too, like, and then the Cardinals brought it to them. And I guess the last thing, and we can transition into this point, is I I joke a lot on Facebook, and I like to poke at Cowboys fans a lot, and mostly because I'm a wrestling type personality, so I love to play the bad guy. It's fun. It triggers people easily, so that's why I do it. But I really have high expectations of this team. I think they're super loaded. And watching
Yeah.
yesterday's game, I kept saying it yesterday, and this I did meant. It was like it felt like the same song and dance. Like, what do you think it is that's gonna get them over the hump? Because you have a new coach now. You added more weapons for Dak. I know y'all had injuries on the defensive side of the ball, but I don't know. Just like I predicted that outcome in my preview. I said it's going to come down to the wire for the Rams and the Cowboys. I think Dak's going to have the ball in the last couple minutes of the game, and the Rams are going to come up big. So I don't know.
Right.
I I know this team can achieve the way that most people predict they want them to, but what is it about it that they seem to always underwhelm?
Well, I think the expectations every year is Super Bowl or bust. And I mean, I know every team, of course, is going to say it's Super Bowl or bust. I mean, I don't think any team in the NFL is under more pressure every season to go to a Super Bowl than the Dallas Cowboys. Even more so teams like the Texans that have never been. I just think the marketing, the brand that is the star, that is the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, it's so recognizable. It's so worldwide known. So I think the expectations, if the Cowboys were on the level of the Cincinnati Bengals when it comes to marketing, uh, you know, ESPN and all these sports outlets talking about, one would say, oh, the Cowboys pretty decent team, right? Yeah, I think they're doing okay. They're kind of out there. But every season, it seems that the Cowboys' expectations are Super Bowl. They're a Super Bowl winning team, and this year, you listen to some of the experts. It's who's going to beat the Cowboys. Look at their offense and their
Mhm.
defense retooled. They have a new coach. They have everything. So I think the hype, and that's what I think non-Cowboys fans hate to hear every season. That no matter how bad or how good the team is, the expectations are so high. And me being a fan my entire life, I mean, I think every season you have that. This was probably one of the first few seasons that I can remember that I would say my expectation is not a Super Bowl. When we drafted, when we had Romo,
Mhm.
what is in 2016, we had drafted Dak in the fourth round. And Zeke was our first pick in the first round, I think pick number 4. Expectations were okay. We were up there, and then we saw Romo go down, and what do we do now, right? Then Dak came in and took us to a 13-3 record. We went to the second round, or I'm sorry, we didn't go to the second round. We lost to Green Bay in the first round, and expectations next season again, like wow, these two rookies. I mean, Dak won Rookie of the Year. Zeke had whatever yards rushing, amazing. Then we lay an egg the next year, and then so it's just the highs and lows. I think the expectations of this team is what's tough, and it's tough on the players. So I think that's part of it. Uh, the coaching yesterday was terrible. Um, I think they were outcoached by Sean McVay. I don't know why I don't like this guy. I don't know
Who,
if it's the
McVay?
haircut. Yeah, I respect him, and I think he does a great job. I think it's the haircut or something. I don't know, but I can't stand the guy, and but he outcoached McCarthy, and McCarthy looked like a coach who hasn't been coaching for over a year, and it showed. I think he was timid, panicked a little bit at times. Uh, but I'm not hitting the panic button just yet, and
Right,
I'll
it's
tell you
week
why.
one.
Yeah, it's week 1, and you'll dive into that too. But I saw some positives on the Dallas front. Alden Smith, what a story.
Mhm.
That could potentially be. I know he's had trouble with outside issues, and wasn't a big fan of him, and he still hasn't won me over fully. But I do believe in second chances, and people make mistakes, right? And I think he's redeemed himself and is going to redeem himself. And he played great yesterday. He played lights out. Uh, you know, the injury bug is the only thing that kind of scares me a little bit on this Dallas Cowboys team right now. I don't know if you saw already, but we lost Leighton Vander Esch,
I
who's
did
kind of
see
our,
that.
our general out there. He's out 6 to 8 weeks, which half a season. That's a little tough. And then we lost our starting tight end, Blake Jarwin,
Yes,
who
I did see that too.
is athletic guy. We've lost him for the season. So, those two. Our O line was beat up as it is. So those are the only things that concern me. But big picture, like you said, it's 1 week. There's a lot of football to go.
Right,
Uh, we also got to think McCarthy met these players a month before the season started. I
right,
mean,
right.
they had no time together, and it's unfair to say, well, yeah, every team faced that obstacle, but at the end of the day, you had teams like the Chiefs, the Rams, the 49ers, the Saints, uh, that were the same team they were last year. You know, uh, Look at how the Bucks struggled. They have a
Yep.
brand new offense. Uh, the Cowboys, the way they struggled. So I chalk it up to, hey, it's an adjustment period. Um, and I think McCarthy's really got to really start coaching in a sense of it, because I did not see a lot of coaching from him yesterday. I think our offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore,
I was gonna say, who's
you
that
know,
guy? I just call him Casey Affleck. He looks exactly like. Ben
Yeah,
Affleck's
he
brother.
does. He really
Um,
does. Yeah. Yeah, well, he calls all the offensive plays.
okay.
So McCarthy, of course, as a coach can interject, but I think he gave him a lot. I like this kid. If you don't know the story on him, he was a third string quarterback to Romo and all that. So he's a journeyman NFL quarterback.
Hmm.
So you know, I don't know. There McCarthy. If you hear him talk, here in Dallas, you hear so much coverage on Cowboys. Uh, he's the next big thing. He's going to be the next big coach. He's the next Sean McVay, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm not sold on him just yet. There's a couple questionable calls, and then the defense too. We have a new defensive coordinator too, Mike Nolan. We'll see, but I think coaching definitely needs to gel. I mean, the performances be from Dak, from Zeke. Wow, I was impressed. I know there's a lot of Cowboys fans that Dak could go and save a baby at halftime from a fire, come back and win a touchdown with a touchdown throw, and they'll still hate this guy. There's just a lot of people like that.
It's
But
crazy
I'll
how
tell you
quickly
what,
that turned on Dak.
uh,
I,
yeah,
I I don't understand it. I turned on the fact of the money issue. Like I
yeah,
don't know, but that's my thing with every player. But I know that he was one of the biggest reasons for the turnaround, and we can talk a little bit about how he's overcome, especially given the comments of that idiot Skip Bayless, who just, I mean, God, like
yeah,
why would you say something like that about this
yeah.
this kid? I mean, I think he's done a great job as best as he can. I know he wants his money. Um, I don't know. Do you think he'll end up getting like the extension or anything like that?
Oh, for sure. I
Mm.
mean, here's my stance on Dak. I mean, I love the kid. I think he personifies everything that is to be America's team's quarterback. And I know everybody hates that term, America's team, but you know what? They're the most loved and hate team in all of sports
Mm-hmm.
worldwide, right? Either loved or hated, right? There's so much pressure that comes as a quarterback. I don't think there is one position in any sports anywhere that has more pressure than the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. I can go back and I wasn't alive. I wasn't alive for the Roger Staubach days, but I don't know how his controversy was, but I remember Aikman. Aikman, who's a Hall of Famer, won 3 Super Bowls for the Dallas Cowboys. Up to this day, is still criticized for so much and
Right.
discredited for so much. And so there's so many people say, "Well, you were carried by Emmett, you were carried by Michael and Dion, and the great offensive line." And part of that is true, but you can't deny. I don't even consider Troy Aikman a top 10 quarterback of all time, not even top 15. But he was great. He was great. But he is still criticized so heavily.
Mm-hmm.
He retired before the 2000 seasons, right? And the Dallas Cowboys went through 16 quarterbacks until they found Tony Romo in
Mm-hmm.
2007. 16 quarterbacks. It is very rare to find a good quarterback that will stay and stick, right? Unless you're, look at the first round picks. How many are bust, right? So 16 quarterbacks within that time till Romo. Now Romo comes in and does his thing, and Romo. I mean, this feels like Romo 2.0. As somebody who followed the Cowboys so long, Romo again could go and rescue people from a burning building while throwing a touchdown pass, and people would hate him. And now, I wish we had Romo back. I love the
Right.
guy. The same people that were throwing stones at him before. So, do I think Dak is the greatest quarterback in Cowboys history or will be? No. But it is very rare to find such a talented quarterback in today's NFL that has every combination. Ask the Jags, ask the Dolphins, ask, I would say, half, maybe 3/4 of the NFL teams that don't have an established quarterback, how tough it is to find a good quarterback that can stick,
Mm-hmm.
right? So is Dak worth 50? I don't know. I'm going on record saying that Dak will make more than Patrick Mahomes. Now, I am not misconstruing that Dak is better than Patrick Mahomes. Not by any means of it at all. I don't consider him in the same sentence. But I'm telling you right now, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, the money behind it and the marketing behind it, that's the only reason. And the kid's good. No matter how people want to spin it, the kid is good. He can throw the ball. He's a leader on and off the field. He is everything that the Cowboys want. So Jerry right now is getting the money ready to pay this kid. Now, maybe it'll be close to Mahomes. Maybe it'll be more. I don't know, but he will get his money. There's no doubt about it.
Okay. See, that's an actual analysis, Jake, for when want to talk the Dallas Cowboys. Eli's giving a lot of good insight here. I love it. What are your thoughts on yesterday's decision to not go for it? The field goal tightened it up, and what ultimately led to the Rams winning the game, I think. And we can talk about the non-pass interference call or whatever. I know you're not
Sure.
one of those people that are going to pin it just on that. There was like other
No. Yeah,
factors in
yeah.
it.
No, I mean, a lot of this, the first quarter and a half, they didn't adjust. Their defense didn't adjust. They weren't playing zone coverage, and they finally fell into a zone coverage. Into the closer to the second half, and that's when they started, actually getting the damn Rams to punt. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw the Rams punter once or twice last night. Um, but the I think the were you talking about the PI first, the pass interference, or you're talking?
We can
What
talk
was the
about
first one?
the not going for the field goal, which I think they should
Oh,
have
the field
done.
goal. I'm sorry. Yes. So the field goal. Sorry, that PI. I was just trying to. I'm seeing Jalen Ramsey do this
Yeah.
again. Uh, no, the field goal. So at that time, I think that's where McCarthy was a little. That's what I talked about the panicking part. It's funny because last year Jason Garrett would have done the opposite and gone for the field goal, and the Dallas Cowboys probably would have lost 23-20. And today we'd be talking about how the Cowboys went for a field goal instead of trying to go and for the points. So I think there's no wrong or right. I think at the time, in my opinion, you're on the road. Yes, there's no fans, but you play to win on the road and you just don't have that advantage. I
Mhm.
think he saw, hey, we have, I think, 10, 11 minutes to go. I think we have time. Our defense cannot play today. The defense was hurt. We're missing, Leighton Van Der Esch and, that whole front line of the Cowboys just brand new too. So I think he had more confidence in the offense, and I agree with him on that. So if you look at the play, there's two things. The Rams, the way they just adjusted and they took their safety out and made it look as if, in layman terms, of course, where CeeDee Lamb was going towards the middle and
Mhm.
he had a little hedge route to the middle, it looked like he was wide open, you know, and all of a sudden you see this linebacker close in and get him right at that gap. And, you know, it was just the defense more than anything. And a lot of it was CeeDee Lamb.
Mhm.
I'm excited for this kid. That's his jersey. I bought his jersey because I'm hyped on this kid. I think he's going to be a star in the NFL. But it's a learning curve for him too. He needs to know where that hash marker is, where that first down marker is, and run in and out. And unfortunately, he ran about 2 yards before that yellow line, right? And if he had ran in 2 more yards, it would have been first down Cowboys, and we would have been possibly discussing a 24-20 win of the Cowboys today
Right.
versus a loss of 20-17. So, a lot of it is, I think that it just being a rookie and not knowing, but you know, uh, it's a tough one. It's a tough one for me. Hindsight's 2020, and yeah, I would have loved for the field goal, right? But I think at that point he trusted his offense a lot more, and I couldn't say I disagree with that.
Okay. All right. I disagree there, but I like your points that you made on that. So we'll move off that one, and then of course, the pass interference or offensive pass interference call out that was at the
That
end.
hurt.
I mean, yeah, it was a lot of hand fighting,
Yeah,
and for a majority of the games that happened yesterday, like there wasn't like a lot of penalties called, which I like. And then of course it's always in one of these games like this where you're gonna get one of those calls
yeah,
like that. Um, but that can go both ways because I think there was one where was it Goff that threw an interception, but he had like a hand in the face mask, and they should have called that. So it.
yeah. There's
I,
a few things. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it all
yeah. There's a
balances
few things.
out, but yeah, no, it was a tough loss for you guys. Obviously, not the way you want to get started, but again, it's week one. We all overreact and all that stuff. Even even my Patriots that went 1-0 yesterday, like I'm even like, hey, hold on a second. It was the Dolphins with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like that doesn't mean anything. Everyone was like, oh my God, Cam's arrived and all this stuff. And I know there's people in analysts that are making the case so much for Cam for other reasons that which we won't get into. But
Yeah.
to me, like the way they played yesterday in Cam's format, it's gonna work for certain teams like your Bills, your Browns, teams like that. But when they
Right.
start playing the Mahomes and the Lamar Jacksons, and you get down 2, 3 scores, like that's not gonna work. So again, I'm like, I was excited, watching them play, and they won. So ultimately, I'm happy with that. But I'm not like, yeah, everything's still gonna be the same in New England like it was. And it's like, no,
Right.
like I love them, but I'm also a realist as well. So I'm not gonna
Right.
overreact. There's people that are coming after me and like, and talking about Brady and all this stuff and how it was all Belichick and all that. But like, wait and see with the Patriots because they weren't all too impressive either on the defensive front. Like I said, when they play a real quarterback, watch out. This ain't the same
Right.
defense like last year. So yeah, there's a lot of overreaction. Anything else
For
that you
sure.
saw that was a little bit like calm down? It's week one.
No, I mean, I think the average or the I guess non-analytical or non fan of the NFL is going to overreact this week, and media is going to do a very good job of hyping stuff.
Right.
Especially here in Dallas. There's going to be a lot of overhype of how bad it was. I mean, look at last year, and I know we keep this. I'm not trying to make this the Dallas Cowboys hour, right? But the Cowboys started at a 3-0 last season,
Right.
and after 3 weeks, I mean, we're all like, oh shit, this team is actually going to the Super Bowl. I think they're looking good, and then they lay an egg and they miss the playoffs, and they just go down a slippery slope like they always do.
Yeah.
So I've come to realize you cannot judge a team before the first 4 games. I think the
Right.
first 4 games, especially now, it might see 6 games this season because of the COVID
Mm.
and the shutdown. You can't judge an NFL team in September.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think once you hit November, you get to know who that team is, and you get to see, okay, who are the pretenders, who are the contenders? Because right now, you know, I don't think Arizona is a
Yeah,
contender.
right.
Washington, great story. I hate them, but Washington, they're a feel good story, but they're going to end up being 3-13 or 4-12. They don't have the weapons on the offensive side. And really, I think the Eagles are massively overhyped like they are every year. And they just, in my opinion, Carson Wentz is massively overhyped too, but that's another story. Um, so, yeah, I think it's very careful that we don't overjudge what's going on right now because, like you said, the Bucks lost, and I don't know where the Bucks are going to go. They have such a tough division they
Hmm.
play in. With the Falcons, Falcons are back and forth every year. We know the Saints are the Saints, and then the Panthers. I like Matt Rule.
Hmm.
I was a fan of his in Baylor, and I don't think they'll be the bottom dweller, but I think they can easily sneak a win over Tampa, over Falcons, over the Saints, just because it's a divisional game. So
Right, right.
I know the NFC West is probably the toughest division, but people sleep on the South. I think the South is up there as one of the tougher divisions in the NFL.
Yeah. I don't think I've gotten I know it's still early, but I guess your pre like Super Bowl prediction for the season. You can tell me what you want with your heart, and then obviously with what you think in your head is the
Well,
real
my
quick.
heart, I always want Cowboys 52-10 right over the Chiefs or something, where Dak throws for 5 touchdowns and is the MVP, and then my PS4 dies because I
As
didn't.
the Cowboys hater that I am, that would be a real interesting one for me if it were like Cowboys Chiefs because I don't want Mahomes to catch Brady at all. So the Cowboys
You
stopping
actually, yeah,
the Cowboys stopping him might actually work in my favor, even though
right.
I wouldn't hear the end of it from Cowboys Nation because then
Well,
I would get the brunt of it. But I think it would be worth it because
yeah,
I think smart like a heel. So I'm like,
yeah.
I could take the brunt of Cowboys Nation if it stops
Well, it's kind
Mahomes
of
from
like when
catching.
when you guys played the Eagles, the
Right.
Patriots Eagles. I mean, I was like, crap, would I cheered for the Patriots because I would never cheer for the Eagles, and
Yeah.
of course, you guys let me down on that. But that's again another story.
I
You're
was
like,
so I was
damn.
so mad that night. Like you don't even know. I think I was in your I had parked on your driveway and I was in my car for like a while before I left.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That wasn't good. That wasn't a good time. It was a good time, but not a good time. Yeah.
Right.
Well, my heart, of course, we always want my Cowboys to win. Honestly, they're not there yet, and I'll give McCarthy some time. I think Dak is going to get his money, and we'll be fine. We'll see next season. I think next season will be a big sign. Uh, my Super Bowl prediction before the season, I'm still sticking to it at this point, is Saints Chiefs.
Mhm.
I think right now the Saints are so complete on both sides of the ball.
Right.
Brady, I'm sorry, not Brady. Breeze is, playing on a 2-year deal, so I think he's looking to light up at least 1 or 2 more years, and really go kind of the David Robinson way, go out a champion. If he wins the Super Bowl this year, I think he's out. I think he won't even
Right.
stay another year.
Oh, he'll go
So
out on a high note.
right. So I just think the Saints are so damn loaded. Um, and of course the Chiefs. I mean, nobody in the AFC is going to catch them right now. I just don't see it. I'm a I think the Ravens are decent, but it's just something I don't know. I might be in the minority on this. I don't know if Jim Harbaugh is the right coach for Lamar and that
Mhm.
team. To be honest, I just don't see it. I like Harbaugh. I think he's a talented coach, uh, but I just don't know if he's the right coach for that style of team. To be honest, so I think he's going to hold him back, or he's going to continue holding him back. My surprise team out of the AFC is your Patriots, by the way.
Oh,
I
okay.
think Mr. Bill Belichick is going to win your Coach of the Year award just because he's going to show people that he doesn't need Brady
Mhm.
to mold a winner. So I actually do have the Patriots going to the AFC Championship and losing
Oh,
to the Chiefs.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I I have the Ravens not going anywhere past the first round. I just don't see it. And Tennessee's my third team in the AFC. I know people aren't high on them, but I think Tannehill has that little Romo-esque where you don't have to be great, you just have to
Right.
be good, and you have Derrick Henry. They what this team really reminds me of, and again, Dallas Cowboys hour, right? The Dallas Cowboys in 2014 were so good. They had Tony Romo at his peak, and then they had uh, running back. Oh my gosh, he went to the Eagles. What am I forgetting right
DeMarco
now?
Murray?
DeMarco Murray. Yeah, I
Yeah.
kept saying Felix Jones in my head. They had
Right.
DeMarco Murray, right? And DeMarco Murray wasn't your bruiser, right? Like, who the hell is this guy, right? And he came in and led the lead in rushing that year. So that kind of reminds me a little bit of that dynamic of Tannehill and Derrick Henry,
Okay.
where they're kind of not known as big players at this point. But I think Tannehill's good enough to win a couple games, and then Henry's a monster, dude. He's just a monster. He reminds me a lot of DeMarco Murray, and just that bruiser, just boom, 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 get out of the way. So I could see them making some noise, kind of like how the Cowboys did that year, and then
Yeah.
ultimately, we failed. So
You know who would fit with the Cowboys as a coach, but I don't know if Jerry would ever allow it. I think a Mike Vrabel type, where he's like a former
yeah,
player, like gets the team
right,
energized, does some Bill Belichick type things where he'll mess with your mind mentally. He did it to Belichick. He did it to us in the playoffs last year. It was like where he was doing things with the clock and punting, and it was like it was
yeah,
frustrating, but it was such a Bill Belichick move. And I think if you incorporate that with like his player vibe where he can relate, I think that
right.
type of coach would fit for the Cowboys. I know McCarthy's like I don't want to say it's a safe move, but and we'll see how he does. But again, it's week 1, so we'll see. But
Yeah, it was a safe move, and I think Jerry just likes that he won a Super Bowl, and he's proven.
mhm,
I personally wanted Lincoln Riley out of Oklahoma because, well, the Cowboys have had great success with college coaches, first of all, in
mhm,
their history. And I think Lincoln Riley out of Oklahoma just really has that youthfulness, that Sean McVay. You look at Sean McVay and that energy boost that he has. I mean, I saw Hard Knocks like you did, and as much as I don't like the guy, I respect how energized and how he's running with the team, and he carries that aura around him. And McCarthy, you see him in press conferences right now. He's like, yeah, the team is going to, it's like, wake up. It's kind of like I'm not a small guy myself, but it's kind of like a chubbier Jason Garrett right now on the podium. I'm like, dude, wake up. So yeah, I mean, I like McCarthy. I'm not saying let's fire this guy. There's going to be a lot of homers out there saying after the season, because he's not going to win a Super Bowl this season. After the season, fire him because we lost in the wild card or lost in the second round, whatever. Fire the guy. I'll give him a couple chances. Hell, we gave Jason Garrett 10 years.
Right.
I'm a patient guy, so. Yeah, but I personally want Lincoln Riley. I just think we needed that youthful, non-NFL mind where, look at the players the Cowboys have. They're all under 25, 26.
Right.
Can McCarthy relate to them right now? I don't know.
All right. Well, so your heart is Cowboys, Chiefs, and then your head is Saints, Chiefs. Okay, two good picks.
Saints, Chiefs.
I think to me the Ravens and the Saints are similar into they're like amazing in the regular season, and then for some reason a team just figures them out in the playoffs. Like for the Saints, I don't know what it is, and you can go back to the Rams game and you can blame that non-pass interference call or whatever. But then what happened last year with the Vikings? Like, what's the deal? Y'all literally should have. Right. They had no excuses. So I think they're just one of those teams that just like Stephen A. Smith likes to joke around with the Cowboys. There's like a black cat hanging around with that franchise when it comes to coming up big in that moment. But
right.
But still a smart pick for the NFC. They're going to be there in contention. Last question on the Cowboys front. Do you think they win the division, or do you think they sneak in this new playoff rule that they're going to implement this season?
I think they're good enough to win the division. And honestly, at this point, I think they have enough offensive weapons to go to the NFC Championship game. I really do. I think they'll get it adjusted. I think Dak is going to play Dak. Zeke looked amazing yesterday, even though he has that god-awful stomach tattoo that says "Feed Me" on there now.
I saw that.
These kids, man, I just don't get it, right? I'm 34, and now I'm saying these kids. But I think they'll get it figured out. I think they have the best three receivers in the NFL at this point. I mean, you have so many weapons. Even losing their tight end, you still have Amari Cooper, who I think is a top 5 wideout in the NFL, who played great yesterday. And him and Dax have such great chemistry. Michael Gallup, which nobody talks about, is such an underrated second receiver. I think you got CD, which, with his size, that slot option, awesome. So, and then they also have Tony Pollard, which is their backup running back that could easily be a starting running back somewhere else. He provides such a spark too. So really all the weapons this team has, there's no reason they can't get to it. And I think they'll get it figured out. I don't think they have the defense to win the big game yet. I really don't. And I don't know what that's going to take. I think during the draft, they're going to have to look at a stud linebacker because, Sean Lee again is out for 3 games. I think he's going to have to hang him up this season. Van Der Esch, he was out for, the last 6 games last year too. He's out for another, 8 games today or this year. So I think they're going to have to figure out they need another strong linebacker. So, I really do see them going as high as the NFC Championship because the expectation is so high. And I think they also have the advantage that they're going to be playing in environments with no fans. I think people forget that.
True.
Because their division in New York, Washington, and Philadelphia, those states will probably not allow fans this year. I just don't see it. And when you go to a place like Philadelphia, those fans are brutal.
Right.
So it makes it so much easier for them to go. And, Dallas, our stadium is not really a home advantage because it's so massive, right? But we will have an advantage of having they're going to do a little under 50% capacity. They already started selling tickets. So, for Sunday, the Cowboys play the Falcons. You're going to see some fans in the stadium. So you'll have a little bit of the crowd noise that will help the Cowboys. So, 4 out of the 8 road games for the Cowboys guaranteed to be in environments with no fans. So I think that's an advantage for Dallas for sure.
I agree. That's a really, really good point as far as like, you look at teams like the Saints, the Chiefs, like where Seattle, or like that 12th man is like a huge deal. And we'll
Right,
see if that ends up
right.
coming to bite them back in the end. Because I guess like I was hearing from Saints players yesterday where they were like, man, they were the only ones that felt like there was nobody there. Like to us, the viewing audience, it just felt like a regular game because they did a good job in the
Yeah,
production. But yeah, no, that's gonna be a huge factor for a lot of these teams. Um,
for sure.
Now, okay, I think we covered a lot of good NFL there. Let's move into our final topic. Let's get into some real sports. Let's talk about professional wrestling. I'm just kidding on the
Yeah,
real sports part. You and I, we share a WrestleMania experience together. We went
we do.
to New Orleans. I have the poster up here
34.
on my wall. Like I still remember it as if it were yesterday. It was
It's
such an
beautiful, bro.
experience. But now that we're in this pandemic, uh, and I think more than sports, the crowd is the absolute biggest factor as far as making a wrestling show work. How has it been for you as a viewer watching these shows from like WrestleMania till now? Like how has it affected like you either not caring as much or just being like, man, this isn't the same?
Oh, it's brutal. I think it's brutal. I mean, I think first of all, they didn't have anybody right for the first few months, and then they kind of copied the AEW front. WWE did by putting in NXT stars or developmental stars around the arena, which to me kind of sucked because they're scripted who to cheer for and not to cheer for too,
Right,
right?
right.
Of course, they're going to boo for the heels, cheer for the faces, and whatever. I mean, I even saw that viral picture that went out where I don't know what wrestler it was, but she had a Charlotte Flair shirt on,
Uh-huh.
and Charlotte was coming out, and she was going boo, but she had a Charlotte
Oh,
Flair shirt
that's
on.
right. Yeah. I think it might
I
have
don't know if
been
you saw
the
that.
just it might have been the Jessamine Duke girl from the Four
Was it?
Horsewomen of Ronda Rousey's
Oh,
crew.
you're
I
right.
think it was
Yeah,
her.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, that just kind of loses the whole, because we know wrestling's not real.
Yeah,
It's sports entertainment, right?
yeah.
And we'll get to the real part in a second because to me it is real. But I think nobody needs an audience more than professional wrestling. And you could tell. I mean, this whole Thunderdome thing, get out of the TV, man. It's
Right?
distracting. I hate it. Uh, I would actually prefer the Thunderdome over the fake piping noise. That
Yes.
piping noise is the worst, absolute garbage there is because I don't know who's mixing in the back, but they go to booze like they just press a button instead of going, okay, a little bit of a boo like the NFL is doing right now.
Right, right.
I forget what happened. It was a women's match, and it wasn't very good at the time. So the crowd would probably not wouldn't be into it, right? They'd probably be eating popcorn or on their phones or out in the bathroom or something.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was funny because I think their women's division is the best, right, of
Absolutely.
anything. But this match wasn't particularly great, and I forget who does what and does like a choke hold, right? And all of a sudden you hear, yeah! I mean, just like a super, like, what? Like, the real crowd would never do that, right? So
Right.
it just sounded so it needs the WWE needs it more than any other sport. It craves off that energy off the fans, and it's just not the same. I mean, look at AEW. They've started inviting, I think, like corporate sponsors and people that know people and
Right,
families
right.
and friends. I mean, and that's an improvement. I enjoy watching Dynamite because of that, even though it's probably only like 100 people in the audience. I enjoy it so much more. So, I think WWE kind of needs to put something out there similar and get rid of all those damn screens they have out there.
And it's weird too because SmackDown used to be, and I know they're taping their shows now, but SmackDown used to be a tape show in general because they would tape it on Tuesday and then air it on Thursday or Friday. And they used
Yep,
to be
Friday
good
or
about
Thursday.
pipe. They used to be good about piping in crowd noise because I've been watching all the old shows and now it's like even when wrestlers are talking in the Thunderdome doing their promos, like the cheering is just overbearing their dialogue sometimes. I'm like, what is this, Tenet? Like
Yeah,
who,
it's Tenet. Turn down
whoever's
the
doing the
mix.
whoever's doing the sound mixing, whatever, is like doing a horrible job on that. But yeah, it's completely taking me out of it. They really need to look at what the NFL's doing and have somebody that's doing a better mixture of that. Um, the matches, I feel like I don't know I can't even tell you what's the best wrestling match. It's probably on NXT where there's been like a really good wrestling match, but again, not having that crowd uh, noise has just
Right.
really affected it. And I figured this would have been a good time for wrestlers to get better on the mic because they won't be distracted by like what chant or because we know how wrestling crowds can
Exactly.
get. And I figured
Yeah,
this
yeah.
would have been
They
a good
took over.
opportunity. This would have been a good opportunity for them to get better on their mic skills, but I don't know. Some of these wrestlers still just can't. Like someone like
Yeah.
a Apollo Cruz, like don't let that guy talk ever. He's one of the worst promos I've ever seen in my life. I know he's getting like a push now or whatever or a chance, but gosh, dude, like what's your character? What are you? Like you're the most non-intimidating baby face I've ever seen in my life.
Exactly.
Um,
And he's a champ. Is he the U.S. champ right now? No,
you know,
MVP
I couldn't even
or
tell
let's
you
say
that.
Bobby. I think Bobby's the champ, man. That's how bad it is that we don't even know. We used to follow this religiously, and
uh,
I can't stomach a 3 hour show, man.
Oh, Raw is such a hard watch. It's gotten a little better over the last couple of weeks, but throughout this summer, man, it was just I think I turned it off my DVR for a while. I just couldn't get into it at all. It was bad.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean, same here with that whole Raw Underground, and it's just terrible storylines. I mean, terrible storylines.
and and that's Vince McMahon's problem is that he thinks it's just like, oh, this is a pandemic issue. Our ratings are going to get back to what they were before, and I'll agree they'll rise a little bit, but they're declining at a really fast rate. And even in
Yeah,
the young audience, like it keeps dipping, and it's like, dude, your problem is the storylines and the non-consistency and all that stuff. And I mean, I don't know who has to get in McMahon's ear to tell him like, hey, like I really wish the people at Fox would be like, hey, bro, like what's going on here? Like you
right,
premiered last October to like over 4 million viewers and now you're at 1 point whatever. It's like, what's going on? Like
right,
I'd be pressuring them. If I were Fox, I would be because Fox is going to survive with or without them. So I
right.
figured they would be in McMahon's ear, but I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Well, Vince is going to be stuck in his ways, and Vince and Jerry Jones are the same person.
Mhm.
Um, they've built such an empire, but they're very hard headed and they're going to do things their way,
Right.
period. They both have a son who's probably more competent in running it, but they're not given the full reins yet. I don't know. I like Triple H. I don't know how Triple H would do for the whole brand. I don't know if he could do it all, but definitely between him and Shane, I think the brand would be much much better. Uh, but I don't know, man. I think they missed such an opportunity to connect to viewers these last 6 months because now what you got to think about it is they're going to be facing Monday Night Football on Mondays.
Absolutely. They're going
They're
to get
they're
crushed tonight.
competing against right. Plus, now that they're on SmackDown Fridays, yeah, it's not big in every state, but as far as when it comes to high school sports, there's no bigger high school sports anywhere in the United States than football. I mean, honestly, I mean, it's yeah. There's going to be a lot of people that are upset that I said that because what about volleyball, basketball, and baseball? And yeah, I respect them all, and any college student athlete I respect, for their hard work. But at the end of the day, there's no bigger sport nationally than football, even at the high school level. So now these guys have to compete. SmackDown's gonna have to compete against Friday Night Football. So I think you're going to see it decline even more. Um, I think right now the only thing that's going to save him is this whole Roman Reigns angle that's going on with him being a heel with Paul Heyman.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, they had a great thing going with the Fiend and Bray Wyatt, but now they introduced the Walrus or whatever, which is Paul Heyman apparently.
Oh my God, yeah.
Uh, Yeah, so I don't know where they're going with all that. I might be in the minority. Going back to Raw, I'm not a Drew McIntyre fan whatsoever. I think his character is boring. He himself is boring. I respect him, but I'm not a huge fan of him as a champion. I'm again in the minority that I'd rather have Brock Lesnar as a champ
Mhm.
at this point because there's just not much going on, and so I think NXT did the right thing. They put the belt on Finn. You know how
Right.
big of a fan I am. I'm on Finn, and I think him and Karrion Kross are going to have some great bouts in the next year. Um, but I just, I just think the star power needs to go back. I think AJ Styles needs to go back to the title scene. Whether it be Raw or SmackDown. I think you need all these guys back at 100%. And I think Roman Reigns was a good example of it going back to where he should be. But I mean, if I see Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins or Buddy Murphy one more time,
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
I cannot stand that. And you and I, we cannot stand Seth Rollins to begin with.
Right.
And I like Ray. I'm not a huge fan of Ray. I like Ray, but this whole Dominic thing, man, oh my gosh, get him off my TV. He's not terrible. The kid's not terrible. He's a good wrestler, for what he is and for, what little training he probably got. I just get him off my TV. And I think the one good thing, because I miss Becky Lynch, you, myself, I know our kids, we love the man, right? Becky Lynch, and she's going to be gone for a long time.
Mm.
She's having a kid on her own. I think the one positive is that we will get Seth Rollins off our screens for the next year or so. So
Hopefully, right?
I can't wait for that. Yeah, well, who knows at this point? But I think they're looking at writing him off of by Survivor Series. So
For
we'll
sure.
see.
I think this was again another huge missed opportunity by WWE with everyone being in quarantine, at least in the early months, to really put on a quality product, consistent storylines, engaging. And they totally missed the boat on that because, we're always reading reports of how Vince McMahon is ripping up the show and rewriting the show like the day of, just like,
Ten minutes before.
the last days of Nitro. That's what they were doing. And it's like, that's how they went out of
Yeah.
business. Um,
Yeah.
that and them continually ignoring the fact that AEW exists. Like to them, I think they still think like they're a nothing company, but they're on the rise. Like their
Yeah.
ratings are like this past week, they did over 1 million unopposed without NXT. And it's like, dude, like there's people that are
Yeah.
starting to flock over and AEW, I'm not saying they hit every mark, but for the most part, they are giving us a pretty entertaining product and consistent,
Yeah,
and
they
they're
are.
building stuff and they
Right.
pay off stuff. And WWE, like, there's times where like they're building this storyline and okay, cool, and then all of a sudden it abruptly ends, and it's like, well, then what do you have me watching for if stuff doesn't matter? Like, I
Right.
mean, I get the whole wins and losses deal, but at least like make your storylines make sense. Like you bring on Matt Riddle, and it's like, okay, cool, you're gonna build him up, and now he's just a guy there. Same thing with like Keith Lee. Like I still have high
Yeah.
expectations for him, but now he kind of just feels like he's a guy there, and it's like,
Yeah.
man, like I don't get it. Like this was their chance to really gain back those viewers, even though we were in a pandemic, and they just totally dropped the ball on it. And now it's going to cost them with everything coming
Yep.
back and whatever. Like it's all around just bad.
Yeah. I mean, even NXT. It's funny because I love NXT, and you and I have been watching it since forever, right?
Mhm.
And some of those episodes have been a little hard to watch, in my opinion. I mean, the last few ones were pretty good. Finn winning the belt and that cage match with Rhea and uh, not Martinez.
Yeah, it was Mercedes Martinez.
Yeah, Mercedes. I'm sorry. Yeah, Mercedes Martinez. That was a pretty good match. I like Rhea Ripley, but other than that, that it's been a little lackluster too. Uh, but I think the home run is AEW, man. I've become such a huge AEW guy. Now that they have Rusev
Mhm.
or Miro, right?
Miro.
Yeah, FKA Rusev. Um, that I loved Rusev in WWE. I thought he was great. I think he's gonna be great over here. It looks like he's gonna be a heel. So we'll see where it goes. But I really like that what they're doing, and Chris Jericho, the goat, as
Right.
you and I like to say, he's carried that brand, putting over that young talent like Orange
Right.
Cassidy.
Hmm.
Uh, it's great to see, man. Great to see, because I think right now Jericho's in it for the fun. He
Yeah.
doesn't care about bells. He doesn't care about anything. He wants to put over the company, and
Right.
I think he's doing such a great job with that. So AEW's got it right. JR is JR. I love Tony Schiavone because,
Tony Schiavone.
man, I grew up with WCW and Tony Schiavone and Bobby the Brain Heenan, and
He's kind
that's the
of
voice of my childhood.
real quickly. I think Tony Schiavone
Yep.
has aged as if you look over time in hindsight in history, like he's aged as one of like probably up there with JR, if not a little better, considering that Tony Schiavone's still at a top level today. I think JR has really dipped, but Schiavone is still like
Yeah, yeah.
on point,
He's
and
great.
he's
Yeah.
super underrated.
Right.
What was the other point I was going to
Right.
make? Yeah, how you mentioned the Dominic Mysterio stuff, like it's just a bunch of repetitive matches on Raw and SmackDown like every week. And it, again, another missed opportunity is why does the WWE brand split still exist now that AEW is around? And the brand split was created so that new stars could be made. But if you're using the exact same people, like the WWE roster is loaded on both ends. Like on SmackDown,
Exactly.
where's Carmella? Where's Naomi on Raw? Like where
Yep.
are all these other people that you could be utilizing? Yet we get the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders for like the millionth freaking time. Like I don't get it. There should be no point
Where's
of
Bobby uh, Bobby Roode? Like
there we
where
go.
all these get? You know,
Jeez.
he was so over with his entrance, and he looked like to be like the next big like Ric Flair type. And
Or he could have been like a
now
Randy Orton
where's he?
type. He could have been like that
A
kind of
Randy
guy.
Orton? Yeah, right. So yeah, they've missed the mark a lot, man. And I think they had an opportunity with being in the same city for the last 6 months. They should have gone away with a split for
Absolutely.
this year, where it would have been, wow, Randy Orton versus uh, random guy from SmackDown, or
Matt Riddle, a Matt
back and
Riddle
forth.
Randy Orton
Matt
match.
Riddle, yeah, exactly. There you go, Matt Riddle, Randy Orton. I mean, now you're limited, but they're all in the same damn arena. So, I think you could have done a brand split come WrestleMania again and done a draft and really shock and awe and wow, this person went there, that person there, but I mean, honestly, this is I don't know. We'll see fans until hopefully Mania back again. So yeah, I think they missed the mark for sure, for sure.
Like, I think it was smart to finally do the Roman Reigns heel turn. But the only way they get
Yeah,
this right is if, I mean, fine, you want to keep him champion, that's cool. But have him mix it up with Daniel Bryan and Matt Riddle. Maybe turn AJ
exactly,
Styles into a babyface. Get all these, like, I know AJ's not a younger guy, but he's a guy that can go, like, he's entertaining to watch. If you put Roman Reigns with those type of feuds, that's going to make that Universal title picture awesome. But if we get
for
stuck
sure.
with, like, more Braun Strowman and the Fiend and freaking Harley Quinn or whatever, make it a three-way. I don't care. But God, if they stick with that, if that's the
Yeah,
plan with Roman, like oh whatever. But imagine a baby face Daniel Bryan up against that Roman Reigns like as a heel with Heyman, like that.
yeah,
Just the build up alone for that would be good. So I like the
right,
turn, but again, it's how they follow up. What's the story? What's the end game for Mania?
exactly,
Even for someone
exactly.
Like Big E has an opportunity here to
Hmm.
maybe do something. But
As a
again,
singles, yeah,
there's no trust there for me. Like
no,
I have the expectation that they're going to let us down with whatever the storyline ends up being. Because again, there is no plan. Everything's week to week. So that
everything's week to week. Yeah,
in
yeah,
AEW, it's AEW is the opposite. They build stuff. They set the seeds for stuff. They plant stuff. The Omega Hangman Page stuff has been incredible to watch over these last couple of months. I know the
it's
pandemic made
crazy.
made them change things, but wow, the way Hangman Page has evolved as a character and Omega, that heel turn's coming and it's
Yeah,
going to
that's
mean
like so
something.
they're turning heel. Yeah, there's a turn coming, but it's not all of a sudden, and or randomly like Bailey and Sasha, where it just
Right.
after one tag team loss, that's when Bailey snaps. So I don't know. So there's no storyline. There's no continuing of the story or building of the story. It's like that Bailey Sasha turn to me. It felt like it was coming, but it felt like it should have waited to an audience reaction.
Right.
Should have waited for like a WrestleMania moment or something. But we get it on a random SmackDown in
Right.
September or August, whatever, 2 weeks ago, late August. So to me, that makes me like, oh, no, 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 do it, just smack her, like get her out, like, and I get it. I love that I think Bailey to me has been phenomenal
Hmm.
as a heel, and I'm excited to see where she goes, and I'm excited to see Sasha as a babyface. But I'm hoping this goes into Sasha taking time off, come Royal Rumble,
Build it
Sasha's the
up.
30th, right?
I swear to God,
Sasha becomes the 30th.
if they fight at this next pay per view, like what the hell? Like no, what a horrible payoff. But here's the thing with Vince
Yeah,
McMahon, like sometimes predictability in wrestling is okay. Like
right.
it's okay if you let a storyline play out, like you know where it's going, like but cool, let it play out. sometimes I think he just likes to swerve us. So like the Bailey turn or whatever, like that's just a swerve to swerve us. Like no, like
Yeah,
Bailey and Sasha are growing in this tandem. They're jumping on all the shows. It's the most entertaining part.
it was awesome. They
Like
were the
why?
best part.
But nah, let's
Yeah.
swerve them. Let's give the audience something they don't expect, and that's cool every once in a while. But if you're doing it just to
Yeah.
do it, then I don't know. Vince is just so out of
That's
touch.
going back to not investing time in the storyline. And I think they were the best thing going from the three brands.
Yeah.
Bailey going around collecting every damn belt. I would have gone as far as giving her the NXT women's belt and
Why
having
not? Right.
her. Why not? I mean, what are you doing at this point, right? I mean, to hold her, have her hold the tag team, the Raw, the SmackDown, and the what? No, she didn't carry the SmackDown. She just carried the Raw, the SmackDown. She didn't carry the Raw. No, she
Correct.
did. Right?
Well,
Yeah,
at one
and to
point in her
carry.
career, she did.
Yeah, yeah. So imagine her carry all four titles and Bailey quattro belts or something.
Yeah.
You know, like how great would that have been? Like, would you have done that normally pre-COVID? Probably not, because you're
No.
doing live shows and But at this point, what are you doing? I mean, how cool would that have been? And then do a heel turn on her, or do a face turn on Sasha come January. So my only hope is that I hope that Sasha is written off TV for the next 3-4 months, and she's number 30 in the Royal Rumble, and she comes back and smacks Shayna Baszler out, and now she grabs the mic, says, "Bailey, I'm coming after you, you blank and blank," and now it's like, whoa, okay, now we get to build up to Mania. That's the only thing that would save it to me at this point.
Well,
But if they fight at Night of Champions,
Logic
or
would
they
tell.
fight at TLC,
Logic would tell you, right, because she broke her neck, right, with that chair. She put her like she broke her neck, right. But I swear to God, like if Sasha comes back in like 2 weeks, like as if nothing happened, it's gonna remind me of that time or it would be like when Kofi would get the shit kicked out of him,
oh
and then he
yeah,
would still come
yeah,
out the
yeah,
next day throwing pancakes like nothing happened.
like yeah,
It's like, dude, like
yeah,
sell the beat down or something, or like Ronda Rousey. I think when Charlotte turned and beat the shit out of her at Survivor Series, and then the next night Ronda
yeah,
Rousey sold it like it was nothing. Like, oh,
right,
it's just let it build. Like I said, that's the perfect scenario. Have Sasha off TV, have her do interviews every now and then, even come out, but maybe not. Don't wrestle, and
right,
then do the whole thing at the Rumble, and she overcomes all these obstacles and wins, and then have that blow off with her and Bailey. Hopefully in
right.
SoFi Stadium, which would get an amazing like ovation.
How,
That would be the match of the
how
night.
amazing would that be?
Yeah,
That would be. I mean, I would venture to say that would probably be close, if not the main event, it would be up there. I mean, just because if they had that build up, and we know how good of a match they would both give because we saw that at NXT already.
right.
Can you imagine that build up? I mean, that would be my favorite. Besides, because I'm a Sting guy. If Sting came back and fought, which will never happen again, but other than that, there's no match right now that I could think of that would get me more hyped at WrestleMania than a very nice build up between a babyface Sasha and a heel Bailey. Because Sasha, I'm not a huge fan of Sasha, and I've always criticized her, but you know what? She does a very good job of transitioning. Her and Charlotte do an amazing job of being faces and heels. And I almost want to say Sasha does a better job at turning, because
Oh, for sure.
Charlotte is just a natural heel. I mean, even when she tried to be a babyface, she had that little like, I don't know if I trust her, right?
Yeah.
Sasha can easily turn it back and saying, "I loved you, Bailey. How could you do this to me? How would you turn your back on me after all these years of friendship?" And you really get the audience believing, like, man, Bailey's a big old bitch. Like,
Yeah.
why would you do that to your best friend? And
Right.
again, guys, we're talking. We know they're best friends outside of
These
work.
idiots are talking like
Outside,
they're real people.
yeah, they're real people. Yeah, we are invested in the storyline, like you would be in Walking Dead, Jake.
Yes, there
Or
we go.
So yeah, we're invested in storyline. So I hope that, because I think Sasha got announced for SmackDown this coming Friday.
Yeah.
I'm hoping Sasha comes back out with a neck brace and limping, saying, crying, and Sasha or Bailey just comes kayfabe, of course, just beats her down and injures her neck even further, and then they announce she's going and undergoing medical testing at a local medical facility or whatever crap they like to say.
uh,
And looks like she'll be out of action or whatever, and let people forget, and then let Bailey go run over, what's her name? Well, they're a tag now. I was gonna say Liv Morgan or something, right?
anybody.
Let her run anybody, even Naomi. Let her have a few with Naomi. Like, I love Naomi, but I wouldn't want to see Bailey drop the belt to anybody other
Right.
than
Sasha.
Sasha at this point, right? If Sasha and Bailey were a thing, I would say, yeah, give the belt to Naomi. Let this whole like Naomi movement win, right? But you can't at this point. The one that's got to break the streak for her has got to be Sasha.
For sure.
If they do anything else, how stupid would that be?
We'll see.
Because I think she'll have the belt by WrestleMania. I think she'll have the belt for almost 2 years or a year and a half or something like that.
Well, I think she's about to hit the 1 year mark because I think she won it last year around, what is it? We're in September. Like around this time last year, she won it off of Charlotte. But yeah, no, that's the best storyline. Yeah, that's the best storyline. So that's the best fantasy book angle. I don't care. Have Retribution kill off Sasha Banks for right now. Like those fucking geeks. Oh my god.
I'm convinced one of those guys is Jake Ramirez, man.
It
like,
probably is. It's the leftist Antifa.
He goes and it's a Biden and Harris shirt, 2020 shirt underneath. Vote or die.
Jake, don't tell me you're not out of work. You're working for WWE right now.
Yep, exactly. You're breaking windows at the headquarters.
That is the doors. Worst thing I've ever seen introduced, and I've watched a lot of bad WCW. This is probably the worst thing I've ever seen introduced as a storyline angle.
Even worse, even more so in something recent, more so than that Jeff Hardy drunken car flipped over incident. That was bad. Was bad. This was even. And now, I don't know if you saw Hardy. He was dehydrated. That's why he collapsed. I don't know if you saw that this past Friday.
They explained it finally?
They explained it. He was dehydrated. So I'm sure it's going to another angle of him being drunk at work, and he's going to have to relinquish it.
Oh, my God.
I'm telling you, people watch this because it's a soap opera, and no matter how bad it gets, I mean, there's something for somebody. I watch it, believe it or not. I really enjoy and I'm not trying to be like a pig or anything about it, but I think the women's division is phenomenal. The women's division, I think for the last 2 years in WWE has been better than the men's division,
for sure.
To be honest.
Absolutely.
And, not saying they don't have their flaws, but they're so damn good at what they do. And, they put their heart and soul into it. And, I know my daughter enjoys it. I enjoy it. The women's angles are so much better each week versus the men. And, I think the AEW is the opposite.
They need to get better
women's
at that.
division. Yeah, their women's division is straight basura, and hopefully they change it, because I love Britt Baker in AEW. I think she's great.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of her, I mean, what's the women's belt right now?
Is it Hikaru Shida? Is that her name? Hikaru
Shida, yeah. So, she's okay. She doesn't really draw that big name out there, and
she's just a wrestler, and you need character. That's why I love Britt Baker so much, because she's the whole package. Like, she really evolved these last couple of months. Like, is she the best wrestler? Absolutely not. But she's the whole package where she can talk. She's a massive good heel. She's got herself an assistant now, and like she's just over. I bet you she's talking a lot with Jericho as far as like how to develop character and get heat. Like, she's doing a great job of that.
Right.
And great job to Tony Khan, because her match had been built up for months for the last pay-per-view they just did. And they were going to just put it on the pre-show. And I was like, bro, like this is your chance for AEW to be different and have a good payoff and put your women in a good spot. And thankfully he listened. I'm not saying like I had anything to do with it, but I'm sure there was a lot of people that were.
There's a lot of pressure. Yeah.
And he listened. So that's something that Tony Khan's doing differently than WWE management, is that he interacts with fans online, and he takes criticism and will use it to try to make the show better. And they did a good job in putting that in the main show. Was it the best thing? I haven't seen it yet, but I'm glad that it earned the right to be on the pay-per-view.
Right.
That was my whole point.
Yeah, and I think Vince would have laughed and said, "You guys get what you get." Vince would have been stubborn. So no, I love that, and I think they're progressive, and I think they see everything that WWE doesn't do right, and they're doing it right, and that's what what WWE isn't doing right, they're going to end up and doing it correctly on their side. So, kudos to them, and they still have their flaws too. They're no means of this imagination a perfect show, but They're great. I think my prediction, I think Mauro Ronaldo is going to take over that second show. I see
Oh
it. I don't know
wow.
why.
Huh.
I no rumors or I haven't read any dirt sheets on it, but if you guys don't know, Mauro Ronaldo it was NXT announcer for WWE, and he recently quit. So Tony Khan and the Khan family has more money than I think I can ever count in my life. And what a massive win would that be for AEW? They're teasing a second show, or not teasing. They already kind of announced it
Right, right.
unofficially. A second show later this year. I think Thursday nights, right? They're saying,
Something like I'm
or
not sure on the date
some,
yet, but that
yeah,
show is coming. But yeah,
yeah.
what a
I
great
bet.
get it would be to get Ronaldo, and I know Brock Lesnar's still out there as a free agent. If I was AEW,
Ooh,
just capitalize, even if it's just for a couple of fights or whatever. Get him on a Matt
yeah.
Cardona deal or Zack Ryder, whatever. I think
Or Zack Ryder deal.
he's not signed to AEW, but he's has like a 5 match deal or
Yeah.
something like
Sell a couple
that.
of shirts. Sell a
Yeah,
couple of shirts or something.
like
Yeah.
give me Kenny Omega versus Brock Lesnar, just one fight. Like that's all I need. That's your pay per view sell right there. Like
How great would that be?
he doesn't have to be a long term deal. Doesn't even have to be for a belt. That's good enough. If I'm AEW, I need to be going after this guy. You wanna start beating WWE in the ratings? What bigger deal? Dynamite Brock Lesnar shows up. Like holy shit.
Bingo, bingo, bingo. No, I agree. I agree 100%.
Let's see. I think we talked a good amount of wrestling. There's just, I mean, I'm not really sure what's left to look forward to in the rest of the year until we get until Royal Rumble Mania season. We'll see what AEW cooks up in the next few months. Their next pay per view won't be until November, so we'll see what ends up being the main feuds there. But I
For
like
sure.
they're obviously trending upwards, and WWE, other than a few bright spots, like it's just not where it used to be.
It's not a good product. Yeah, it's not a good product right now.
But yeah, well, I think this is gonna wrap it up, friend. I think this has been a real treat, a real fun conversation. I've
For
enjoyed every
sure, dude.
second of it. Thank you for coming on, taking time out, and doing this anniversary show
Thank
with
you,
me.
man. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm beyond honored to be part of the show. And when you text me to be on it, man, I know our schedules are tough, and we work so much, and with the kids and life,
Absolutely,
right? I'm happy we found time and we were able to do it. So anytime, man, and keep doing the great job you're doing, man. I know no better person out there doing something like this than you, man. And I know I said at the beginning of the show, but I'm so damn proud of you. I'm so proud of you and your career, how you regrown and grow each and every time. So keep rocking, man. I'm proud of you, love you forever, man. And thank you for everything you've done for me too.
appreciate that so much. And I mean, I go above and beyond. I mean, saying that I appreciate your friendship, your mentorship, like you and your family, everything y'all have been wonderful to me for so long, and will continue to be the same thing for from my family to yours. Like, anything
For
y'all ever
sure.
need, I'm always here for you. Whenever you need. I mean, hope we get to see each other down the road soon. And then, of course, I know we're planning for WrestleMania. Hopefully, that'll be in the books
Hopefully
because
that
I
happens.
really
Yep.
do want to do that. But yeah, dude, thank you so much. Like, I can't wait to have you on again. The only one
For
missing
sure.
left out of the Four Horsemen is Medina to get on this
Yeah.
show, and maybe we'll cook up something for maybe do like a little Zoom conference call with the four of
That would
us.
be cool.
I want to get us
Yeah.
back together and reminisce, and we can have.
Well, I think Medina's massaging right now, people or
I know.
something. I don't know what he's doing right now, man. So he might be a little busy or
Probably he's going to be the
something.
hardest one to get. That guy's
Yep.
booked. He's booked until
He's
20
booked,
whatever.
man. He's got those great hands, man.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you talking with me, and
For sure.
give my best to your family,
Likewise, man.
and hopefully we'll see each other soon down the road.
Yes, sir. Thank you
Thank you.
guys, and God bless, and thanks for everything, man. Take
Thank
care.
you.